All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the last session of the day where we introduce to you the brains behind Bukalapak, Mr. Muhamad Fajrin Rasyid, as he takes us through his journey to the corporate position he's in today. Accommodating the moderating is Razif Aziz, Vice President, Investment and Grants, Malaysia Digital Economy Corporation. Over to you, gentlemen.
Hello.
Yeah, we're going to start with Mr. Fajrin doing his presentation. I would like to welcome Mr. Fajrin to this event. Very good afternoon in this balmy Friday afternoon we find ourselves in. So I guess we're behind time already. So let's get on to business. And over to you.
Thank you, Razif, and hello everyone. It's a pleasure for me to be speaking here at this event, and I would like to share stories, which I titled here "From Unicorn to Build Corporate Unicorns." First, as an introduction, I am a digital business director of Telkom Indonesia. Telkom is the largest telco company in Indonesia. It's also a state-owned enterprise. Before that, I was the co-founder and president of Bukalapak, one of the biggest e-commerce marketplaces companies in Indonesia. So what is Bukalapak? In case some of you have not heard, so it was an e-commerce marketplace company that we founded back in 2010. Three co-founders, me and Zaki, and then Nugroho. And in 2017-18, we reached a valuation of $1 billion US, become one of the unicorns in Indonesia. In 2020, we were congratulated by our president, Joko Widodo, for reaching quite a milestone in terms of the number of MSMEs and also the users. We reached the valuation of $2.5 billion US at the time. In 2021, I cannot comment because it's not yet happening, but Bukalapak is planning to do a listing, IPO in IDX in Indonesia Stock Exchange. The plan is actually very, very soon. Some of you might heard when it will happen. But last year, the Minister of SOE in Indonesia, through some discussions, I am then selected as actually the youngest directors to serve SOE's Telkom Indonesia. It was quite a decision that is asked by a lot of people why I wanted to move into state-owned enterprise, because especially listed company, you have a lot of bureaucracies, SOPs, right, compared to startup culture. So this is the two extreme that is usually happen between the startup and also corporate culture, right? Startup, we'll see later governance, very fast, agile, challenge the status quo. It's a small, nimble, and flexible. Whereas SOEs or any public listed companies on the right hand usually cares about good corporate governance. It's about defending the status quo. It's about safety, structure, stability, right? But if you think about it, startup, as they grow bigger, as they secure more investment, right, from Series A, Series B, and then eventually go public or acquired by big corporation, they are also increasingly becomes more and more implementing good corporate governance, right? Because investors, especially the big one, will ask the audited financial reports, for example, will ask for other a lot of documents during the due diligence, right? And SOEs and public listed companies in general, right now, when we are facing with this digital transformation, where everyone needs to go into more digital, will be also closer to agility. So everyone is actually going into the middle, be it startup or corporate culture. So the key here is to provide a balance between the good corporate governance on one hand, but also agility, flexibility on the other hand. So first, regarding Telkom, this is just to give a glance of Telkom Indonesia. We are the biggest telco company in Indonesia. We have covered actually almost 100% of the population. So in our mobile business, we actually covered more than 100 million population. We also have a landline covering almost 10 million homes at the moment. We are also present in 9 global offices. We have a bunch of, satellites, data centers, towers, and other platforms or infrastructures that is enabling our telco business. But over time, as you probably noticed as well, happen in many telco companies around the world, we want to change. And usually what telco companies did is to expand into digital business. That's why our vision is actually to be a most preferred digital telco company. So what is digital telco? So we started with digital connectivity, right? The fiber optic, 3G, 4G, and recently 5G, satellites, and so on. We want to go into the top businesses, right? What we call digital platform and digital services. So digital platform includes cybersecurity, payment, blockchain, big data, IoT, cloud computing, data center, and so on. Digital services includes many applications across many verticals, such as logistics, health, education, agriculture, and so on. So these two areas in Telkom Indonesia at the moment are less than the connectivity one. But we want to go bigger and bigger in the future, right? Because connectivity is quite saturated. Maybe in Malaysia, it's also similar. I mean, everyone is already having a cell phone, or majority of it, right? But what else, right? So what's the next growth story for telco companies, including Telkom? It's this middle and top layer of this tech stack. So this is what we are doing. And I was brought again to implement or to improve these two big businesses for Telkom Indonesia going forward. So this is actually new directorate. Just, I think 2 years ago, we implement this directorate. So before, there is no directorate of digital business in Telkom Indonesia. But we built this directorate specifically to accelerate digital transformation that we want to achieve going forward. So how do we do this? Oh, it's actually a bit, but especially if we want to implement a digital transformation in SOEs or in many of the companies, not just in Telkom, I believe that there are 3 major capabilities. One is regarding the technology, right? So we need to implement the right technology. At the moment, for example, mobile, we need to implement a culture that is also supportive of that technology. But the second, we need to also care about the people, right? Because technology by its own is useless if our people cannot implement it, if our people cannot fully utilize the technology. So people is the second most important elements regarding digital transformation. The third one, so technology is one, the second is people, the third is process. So you need to also think about the process that is happening in your company, right? So for example, I mentioned this to Razif earlier. Maybe you have technology of digital signature, right? But if the process requires you to still sign the hard copy of the documents, then digital signature technology is useless, right? Or sometimes you even need to do both. Okay, you do the signature digital first, but then later on you need to sign the hard copy documents, right? So it's not becoming more efficient. In fact, it's becoming less efficient, right? So the key here, so these 3 things, technology, people, and process, needs to be carefully examined and fixed going forward. So how do we do that in Telkom Indonesia? We try to implement best practices from the unicorns or from technology company. So for example, the left one, the left side, usually the corporate, we have this waterfall approach, right? When developing a system or application, where we first define the requirements and then we build the products and then we release the products. However, in this digital world where everything changes so rapidly, waterfall may not be the best solution, because by the time you release the product or the system, maybe the requirement already changes, right? So that's why nowadays a lot of companies try to implement agile methodology. Instead of using waterfall, where you first define the requirement in a very, very rigid way, why don't you first define, build, and release the products as quickly as possible? But then after you release the product, you gain the feedback from the users. How does it feel? How does it perceived by the customer, right? What are the feedbacks? What are the things to improve from that? Then you put that as a requirement for the next iteration. You define again what are the things that needs to be fixed, and then you build again, and then you release again. Then you do it another iteration again. By the time, let's say after 1 year, it will produce the solution that is closer to the customer needs. That's how Agile works. So how do we implement Agile in Telkom Indonesia? We try to implement a matrix organization structure where instead of, okay, let's say this is engineering division, this is the designer division, this is the business division. It's not like that. We instead implement tribe and squad structures where each squad is focusing on solving specific product or features or issues. And each squad consists of people from various backgrounds. Let's say here, designers, developers, data science, product managers, growth hacking. So each squad have a different team, like a startups, right? So think of this as a group of startups. So that's why our vision is actually to create many unicorns in the future, or maybe some unicorns in the future. Many is quite ambitious, but that's the principles. We want to be able to produce initiative that can grow and grow big and big going forward, eventually to become unicorn level initiatives. So how do then we ensure that the initiatives that is working can actually provide a big impact, again, unicorn level impact, right? So by implementing what we call as OKR, or objective and key results, because sometimes, you know, corporate people, especially finance or other divisions, looks forward to ROIs, right? Okay, I spent this amount, and then what's the return in terms of the revenue or other financial metrics, right? The problem with startups or tech startups is that sometimes you don't get the revenue, at least initially, right? You only get the revenue after you actually grow big, and then you may potentially implement the revenue model, right? So what matters here is not necessarily the revenue, but we need to have a good financial or business metrics that we can track. For example, in the case of e-commerce, we need to track their GMV, right? If we think about games or video-based products, then maybe number of hours that the app is watched by the users or played by the users. If we track that OKR, and if we can grow that OKR, let's say 1 or 2 years, after that, we can implement the revenue, right? For example, after the GMV is so big for the e-commerce, then maybe we can implement 5% of the take rate as a revenue, right? So that's how we work. And then we have what we call a DIC, or Digital Investment Committee, where we monitor all these initiatives that is running in the directorates every 3 months. How does it look? How does the performance compare to the roadmap, right? Is it closer to the roadmap? So yes, maybe we can continue these initiatives, or it's very far, or it's very lacking behind. Then if that's the case, then we are usually rethinking that initiatives maybe we stop that initiatives so we can move the resources into other initiatives that we think can give us closer chance to produce a unicorn in the future. So I mentioned about tribes. We also have the middle one, ITDRI. This is actually our initiatives that we open to any employees in Telkom Indonesia. Telkom Indonesia has about 25,000 employees, around that, 20,000 plus. We think innovation comes from anyone, right? Not just a digital directorate employees. So how does it work? In principle, you as an employee can form a team, let's say 5-person team, and then you submit ideas into us. If we approve the ideas, then we will give you time, few months, for example, and capital for your team to implement that idea. So this is our innovation framework for internal. It's sort of like intrapreneurship culture that we are trying to develop here in Telkom Indonesia. If then this team can produce the idea and produce the apps or whatever solution, and we think, oh, this is actually a good solution, then we will implement this. Then we will make it like semi-permanent. Okay, instead of you working from other divisions, why don't you then develop these ideas continuously, right? So we implement this idea, including the team. But if it's not successful, then we will return the team to the previous divisions. We also believe that innovation can come from external, right? Outside of telecom. So we have some initiatives like incubator. Indigo is the incubator. And then on the bottom right, MDI is our corporate venture capital arms. So what are some of the products that we have developed in the Telkom Indonesia Digital? The left one, PADI, is our B2B commerce platforms where we connect SME or sellers on one hand with SOEs. We have about 100 SOEs as a buyer, right? So SOEs, if you want to source the products, if you want to look for the vendors, why don't you search from the SMEs, right? So SOE and SMEs, we connect through PADI UMKM. Big Box is our big data solution. So we offer this to big corporates and also governments. If you want to implement your big data solutions, you can use Big Box. And then Peduli Lindungi, the right one, is our one-stop vaccination system platforms. So now, if you are Indonesians and you have been vaccinated, you can download the app and then you get the certificate from the application. If you are also, if you're doing a PCR testing or antigen testing, you can also get the result real time in these applications. So say if you are going to, if you really needs to go by plane or by train, you can just show the proof that you have been vaccinated or you have tested PCR negative using the digital application. So you don't need to bring the paper whatsoever. So this is some of the initiatives that we do in helping the government. Next. And next. Oops, sorry, I forgot. I'm used to doing the next. So this is the MDI Ventures. I mentioned again, we are not only doing the digital initiative by ourselves. We are also open to have a partnership with startups, tech startups, not just in Indonesia, in Southeast Asia or in any countries, but who are looking to also expand their business to Indonesia, right? Because we want to also see the synergy between the startup that we invested. So we are not only looking for capital gain, but we are looking if there is a possibility for the startups that we invested to have a partnership, B2B partnership with us, right? Telkom or Telkom subsidiaries. So far, we have invested in over 50 startups. We have deployed over $800 million into these 50 startups from 12 countries. And some of them we have exited, 2 IPOs and some M&As. So I guess that's it from me as an opening, and look forward to the discussion. Yes, I can hear as well.
Yeah. So again, thank you, Fajrin, for that glimpse into your journey from a startup to a corporate scene now. Very good afternoon to those who have just joined us. With me is Cik Fajrin Rasyid, the co-founder of Bukalapak and now digital business director at Telkom Indonesia. I'll start the ball rolling in terms of questions and answers, with addressing something that is sort of like I guess the elephant in the room in terms of all these prospective entrepreneurs out there who are in our audience. What was your inspiration for Bukalapak? I mean, the story goes that you started with a noodle shop or something like that. You started while you were in your dorm in uni days at the Bando Institute of Technology. I mean, was that true? I mean, was that the start of it?
Yeah, so it's partly true. So when I was in a university, I lived in the same dorm with Zaki, right?
Yeah.
The other co-founders.
Yeah.
And so the dorm has quite a big front yard, where we think, okay, we can actually set up a noodle shop here. So during the time I was in college with Zaki, I set up the noodle shop. It was a good business for 1 month. After 1 month, we are forced to close it because we are not focused, right?
Okay.
So I learned a lot from that, because it was a initiative done by 20 students, right? And because you have 20 co-founders, all of us are thinking, oh, let the other handle it, right? You know what? I have an exam tomorrow. I cannot maintain it. But everyone has that. It becomes a very learning for us and Zaki, for me and Zaki, right? We started Bukalapak after we graduated, with me and Zaki and the other guy, Nugroho. But we took that learning from Noodle Shop. So when we develop Bukalapak, we tell to each other, okay, we have to we need to have a clear role and responsibility.
I think we are lagging a bit.
Now, what's the inspiration? Me, Zaki, So me, Zaki, and the other guy come from humble background, right? So we are not from Jakarta. We are from. I'm from small city in West Java. Zaki is from small city in Central Java. So we see ourselves how SMEs can be helped from the digital, right? So because we had a digital background, we had an IT background, we are seeing the trends of the internet business like Alibaba and Amazon in the US, and we think, oh, maybe we can also implement a similar things, but tailored to the context or the situation of Indonesia, right? So what is the situation of Indonesia? It's mainly small, medium-based economy, right? That's why we think that the model that will work or that might work in Indonesia is probably closer to the model that is worked in China, which is a marketplace, not an online retail. So that's for example, one of the things that we think can be true when we implement this.
Yeah. You also included warungs, right? The warungs, the famous warungs. I mean, for us, they are stall holders. We have very similar culture in that sense, the food culture. So what made you think that, that's also an opportunity, a business opportunity? Because this is unlike, I could be wrong myself, but I think here in Malaysia, I think this is sort of still like an underserved market. So you saw that early on in terms of bringing them on board. So what made you think that this could be something that you should focus on?
So essentially, we use the statistics, right? So we have the statistics from Google and Temasek, and I guess they also share have the research for Malaysia as well, and many other countries in Southeast Asia. In there, one of the insights the online commerce as a percentage of total commerce in Indonesia are still single-digit percent, right? At the time, less than 5%. So 90% plus of the commerce transaction still happens in offline. Now, we then see other reports, other statistics saying that, okay, of these 90% plus offline transaction, majority in Indonesia are happening in traditional stores, in these warung mom and pop stores, right? Instead of the modern mini market or supermarket. I guess about 70 to 30, the percentage around that. So we think that, yes, the modern one is growing faster, but in the next 5-10 years, the bigger are still the traditional one. So we think that, okay, if we try to then digitalize or improve this traditional one, maybe we can gain an upper hand.
Okay. But so you spent a bit more than a decade, I guess, with Bukalapak building this platform driven by this passion. Do you see that passion carried through to your new role as Director of Digital at Telkom Indonesia? Are you pushing that same agenda, is that what's keeping you going now?
I think so, because again, we need to have a passion, right? But we need to be flexible in terms of the passion. Keep your passion big, so it can be flexible, so you can learn to pivot, do pivot if things change, right? So, for example, my personal passion is to have an impact, right? So I found that in Bukalapak, because Bukalapak provide impacts, especially to the SMEs, right? We are empowering millions of SMEs. I'm happy that I can reach, or I can find myself closer to my passion in Bukalapak through helping the SMEs. But then once I joined Telkom, I also think that, look, I can also bring a lot of impacts here, right? Because SOEs, if I can improve these SOEs, definitely it will provide direct impact to the nation, right? So there is also the impact that I think I can find here in Telkom by transforming Telkom from telco into digital telco company.
Okay, I now have questions from the floor. So I'm going to read it out. So just in case I'm not, articulating it completely. So this is anonymous though. I'm looking to create a B2C marketplace for my company, but we simply cannot adopt a loss-leading strategy like tech giants can. Conversion optimized marketing is important for us, but we do have a budget, and we'd much rather have a self-sustaining business in terms of marketing spend. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think this is common faced by the people who are trying to develop a digital business, right? Sometimes you need to invest not small before it can make money, or it can be sustainable. One thing that you can do is find partners, right? Or investor who believe in that and can fund you the business. If you cannot, then the second thing you do, the second thing you can do is to find the creative business model to complement that business. So for example, B2C marketplace or B2C e-commerce, you may be difficult for you to implement a fee structure, right? Because every other marketplace or other e-commerce is implementing free business model, for example. But you can, for example, implement advertising or other revenue model related with the data, right? So, for example, you can sell aggregated data, so not privacy data, but aggregated data to other companies who are looking to find data regarding buying patterns, right? In fact, we are doing that in Telkom. So we are selling aggregated data. Again, this is legal because we give insights to the company, to the corporates who are looking to find a data regarding behavior pattern of online of people, right? So those are some of the things that you can do.
Okay. Let me check if there are other further questions. Not yet. So maybe I'll ask you another question. You mentioned about startups wanting to collaborate with corporates, like for example, Telkom Indonesia. Any insights on success factors? What do startups need to, to manage their expectations and to make sure that, the two parties are on the same page?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is what value you provide to the corporates, right? Because sometimes, let's say in the case of Telkomsel, right, or maybe in Malaysia, let's say Axiata or other big telco companies there. So let's say I'm a startup, I want to partner with Axiata. Sometimes I only want to gain access to Axiata or other telco companies' customers, right? Can you send the messages to your customers about my startups, right? That provides less value to the telco, right? Because yes, I can send messages to millions of my subscribers, but what's in it for me, right? You want to pay me or what? So you need to find what are actually the pain points or problems that is now faced by the corporates, not just telco, but any big corporates, and how your startups can actually bring value to them. This value can be many things. One, it will bring more revenue to the startup, to the corporates, right? That's one potential. The other, which is potentially easier, if you study the business of this corporate, is how your startup can actually make this corporate more efficient, right? Because it may be the case where the corporates, especially if they are not yet digital savvy, or they are still in the process of digital transformation, they are looking for ways, for many ways that digital can, for example, provide solution for them to be able to increase efficiency of the cost, efficiency of capex, efficiency of whatever, right? So not giving them additional revenue, but giving them more efficiency in terms of cutting costs or others. So these are also things that you can look as a startup.
Just checking if there are any new questions. What do you think is the role of government in all this? I mean, this whole thing about getting businesses online, especially under the current circumstances we're in, getting businesses online does add an element of resilience. You can still operate, that sort of thing. What would be the government's role, and does the government itself need to also, digitalize and keep pace with the private sector? Otherwise, they become part of the whole problem as well.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think the most important role the government can play is to ensure that this ecosystem can actually run well, right? this digital ecosystem. By digital ecosystem, I mean that whoever wants to develop startup, for example, the regulation supports that, right? If I want to invest in Malaysian startups, for example, the regulation also supports it. There is a simplicity. There might be some tax incentive or whatever, right? So that that policy to support the development of digital ecosystem is the key role that the government can play. So specifically for just now you mentioned about how to make businesses go online more. The government can play or can provide incentives to do so, right? So for example, for every transaction happens in the e-commerce by the seller, which is SME, the government can provide incentive for both the seller and the buyer, right? So if you buy from any SMEs in the online commerce in Malaysia, for example, you can get some, I don't know, vouchers that you can later be converted into cash or whatever from the government, right? Cash transfers or whatever. So that way, both the buyers and sellers are forced to do online more. It will bring more people to go online, right? So this is actually something that is also done in Indonesia, recently or still continuing, I guess. So it gives more incentive for people, including the SMEs, to go online.
Right, cool. I now have a question now from the floor, from the audience. This is from Encik Shahrizal. Pak Fajrin, how do you balance the need for the insatiable crave for exponential growth and sustainability of the business? How do you balance the two? Yeah, growth versus sustainability, that sort of thing. Can both be done at the same time? I suppose this is a reference back to your Bukalapak days, where large unicorns, although their valuations are in the $billion range, they are still loss-making in that sense. So yeah, so what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, this is actually done both in Bukalapak and also in Telkom, right? So one of the keys are actually to enhance or to improve your data analytical capabilities. So you use data science a lot, meaning that you can actually know what contributes to the growth and whether it's sustainable or not, right? So for example, we can use a lot of marketing, for example, to drive the growth. But if you don't analyze carefully, you cannot know which marketing budgets or which marketing activities are sustainable and which one are not. So the best marketing is you spend it once, and then the transaction, the business is growing, sustainable, right? So you don't do marketing again in the future, but the sales is still that high. The bad marketing is you spend one, after that the business is dropping again, right? So there is no long-term effect. So how do you know that? It's through the data science, right? So you can do A/B testing, a lot of data analytical, data crunching, to know that, okay, this one working, this one doesn't. Maybe the one that is working, we can improve the budget, we can increase the budget. The one that is not working, we stop it, right? So we keep improving from the data. That's just one example regarding marketing. You can do also regarding a lot of other things, right? Regarding product development, regarding recruiting people, regarding other elements. So if you can have a very good understanding of your data regarding every aspects, then you can make a better decision, be it quarterly or monthly, of your business.
All right. We now have 3 further questions, so it's all coming in right now. The first one: how do you implement the startup? How do you implement startup values into the corporate, into their working culture? The startup values of agility, etc., speed, into a corporate culture.
Definitely, I need to lead by examples, right? So what are some of the examples that I try to tell to the people, to the team? One, I usually give them a big high-level target, but I don't micromanage. So for example, let's say I have these initiatives I mentioned just now regarding the e-commerce platforms or regarding the vaccination platforms, right? What matters are the OKRs. Let's say the number of transactions or the number of SMEs. But to put it simply, I don't really care what features they develop, so long as the OKR is achieved, right? So they can have flexibility, they can have more ownership in terms of what they want to do during those timelines. But I will monitor it closely, right? Every week, sometimes every few days, regarding their achievement. I will sort of like ask question a lot if they don't if they don't achieve the target, if they miss a target, right? But at the same time, I'm also open if they need help, if they want a partner to discuss. But I rarely give orders regarding specific features or regarding the initiative, right? So because I want the team to have the ownership. So those are some examples, and maybe there needs to be some regulation, company regulation that needs to be updated, right? If the regulation is within my control, so let's say it's a directorate level of regulation, then I might change that directly, right, to implement more agility, etc., etc. But if the regulation is higher ups, right, needs to be approved by the commissioners or others, for example, then I need to communicate first with the other directorates and my CEOs, right, regarding why this is important to push for the change. But anything that is within my control, I will try to implement as fast as possible.
I have just been cued by the organizers that we have run out of time. Fajrin, I understand you had to leave for another session. So I'd like to thank you so much for your time. I think it's an absolute privilege to have you on board in this MTM this year. It's certainly my first time meeting a co-founder or founder of Unicorn, so it is an absolute delight for me to be able to talk to you today. I wish there was more time. I have my own personal questions to ask as well, I guess. The one being, is there a unicorn playbook that you can share with the audiences here? But maybe we can do that on another occasion, perhaps. Hope you can return at some point, maybe next year when we do this again, MTM in 2022. But it has been an absolute delight. Thank you so much, Cik Fajrin. Any
welcome.
Remarks?
I think the key in producing unicorns or whatever big initiatives is to focus on the customers, right? To focus on what is the big vision that you want to achieve when you're creating the products, right? If you can implement that successfully, then unicorn or decacorns or whatever is just a bonus, right? It's just an achievement. Yeah. What matters again is how your products can solve the pain points of your customers.
Awesome. Don't get hung up on the unicorn thing. In other words, focus on the customers and it will sort itself out. All right. Thank you so much, sir.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. Good to have you on board. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fajrin, truly for your openness and willingness to share. And that was really useful advice that you left us with. Think about the solution to any problem. Think about the problem that you want to solve, and I'm sure the unicorn will be a byproduct of that. So congratulations, you've truly done it all from startup to unicorn and now thriving in a corporate circle. Thank you so much for sharing with us and spending time with us. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of day 2 of MTM 2021. Once again, we would like to thank and express our deepest gratitude to all of our esteemed speakers these past 2 days for sharing their outlooks, ideas, and insights on pragmatizing the digital economy amid today's unprecedented uncertainties. And we truly hope you've enjoyed these sessions and found them useful as we progress towards becoming a digital nation and the heart of digital ASEAN. While the anchor event may have ended, we most certainly have more in store for you, as the whole month until the end of August will be laden with satellite programs which you are able to attend by signing into your MTM 2021 dashboard. Once again, we'd like to thank all of you for attending and for joining us and for being the very components that have driven MTM 2021 to the heights it has been able to reach, and we truly hope to continuously serve you better. Till we meet again, I'm Julie Woon. Stay safe and have a great day ahead. See ya!
Malaysia Tech Month 2021 is a virtual month-long curation of electrifying digital and technology keynotes, workshops, discussion panels, and business matching sessions aimed at asserting Malaysia as the heart of digital ASEAN. Since its inception 25 years ago, MDEC has indisputably transformed the ICT and digital landscape of Malaysia. The Malaysia Tech Month is the nation's marquee investment promotion platform, bringing together industry, government, and investors to form effective collaborations, enabling better innovations. We are the pulse that generates the heartbeat of the digital economy of Malaysia. Join us today at the Malaysia Tech Month 2021.